guy that I feel like we've talked about him on almost every episode. So time to make it a formal segment. It's our boy, Bobby Trees. It's Robert Woods. We both love Robert Woods. A lot of fantasy players love Robert Woods this year, and it's for good reason. He's the definition of what you want at wide receiver 2 after loading up on running backs and other top-tier options early in your draft. We keep talking about the 2020 Rams. They're really these two different scenarios. Will McVay run the 2 tight end sets that they ran for the last 7 weeks after their bye last year, or will they return to the 3 wide receiver sets that they used to torture defenses with for a few seasons prior to the end of 2019? Well, what remains constant in all this hoopla, we're talking about Cooper Kupp, we're talking about Tyler Higbee, and all the running backs there, Robert Woods is the constant. He should be a high floor, moderate ceiling play in 2020. Woods has proven himself. He finished inside the top 14 in PPR, putting up over 130 targets and 1,100 receiving yards over the last 2 seasons. Brandon Cooks is gone. We all know that. He vacates only 72 targets, but I do think some of that will go over to Woods. And something about Woods, he gets used in creative ways in this offense. We saw him get a lot of rushing work. He had close to 20 rushes last season and the season prior with getting jet sweeps, things like that. He's had a rushing touchdown over the last couple of years as well. And Woods didn't lose any snaps when the Rams went into 12 personnel. From week 10 on, he only finished outside of the top 24 on the week 1 time, and he was seeing Michael Thomas level 11 targets a game. If he's your wide receiver 2 and you have another name like, say, Devontae Adams, Chris Godwin, Kenny Galladay, or my boy DJ Moore at your wide receiver 1, I think you're going to feel great having Robert Woods there as your 2. The ADP is so low. He's going right now as the wide receiver 18 to 21 range, depending on what platform that you're looking at. But that's thanks to his perceived low ceiling due to his low touchdown volume. And it's true. I mean, Woods has never scored more than 6 touchdowns in a season. Last year, he only had 2 of them. I am expecting some positive regression to the mean there, just on the volume that he's going to get. But he's one of the safest wide receiver 2s you can invest in. It's not like you're relying on him to take to the house and score a touchdown to be fantasy relevant. The opportunity and the yard creating ability are there. And let's say in a best case scenario, he gets 8 or 9 touchdowns. Maybe he takes some of the touchdowns that Cooper Kupp was getting over the last couple of seasons here. Then you just got a wide receiver 1. So I love Robert Woods this season. I think a lot of people do, and it's for a good reason. I really don't see a scenario where anybody's going to fade Robert Woods as a wide receiver 2.
Yeah, no, I'm with you 100%. I definitely like him more than teammate Cooper Kupp, who's going as wide receiver 15. And with Robert Woods, like from weeks 10 to 17 last year, he was the wide receiver 4 in points per game in all fantasy, and that was with just the 2 touchdowns. So that's insane.
Right.
And you think about some of these outliers in touchdowns. We always talk about negative regression in the touchdown category, but just for someone to have negative regression, that means they had an outlier season. So wouldn't it be nice if, pre-draft season in 2021, we're talking about how, Robert Woods has to regress from the 12 touchdowns he had in 2020. Because if that's the case, he's a top 3 wide receiver this season. And if he ever pushed towards that double-digit number, his value would just be insane. And he's very safe. He's very consistent. And he's my favorite receiver on this Rams team. And I still don't understand why his ADP is so low. I feel like all fantasy analysts are talking about Robert Woods, and we're seeing that ADP climb a little bit. I hope everyone just slows down a little bit, at least till our draft is over, so I can get him as my wide receiver too. But look, he should be a lock as a top 20 wide receiver. And when I look at the other side of the ball in Los Angeles, I see Cooper Kupp, and I'm willing to take Cooper Kupp in drafts, but I'm not usually happy about it because I just don't know which Cooper Kupp we're going to see in 2020. Like from weeks 1 through 8, he was the wide receiver 2, so his upside's there. But then from weeks 9 through 17, Kupp was the wide receiver 30, and that was on 5 touchdowns in 8 games. So that really should have been a lot lower. He was barely playing snaps in some weeks and things like that. So, when I look at it, I'm going for the safety here in Robert Woods because I think Woods still does have wide receiver 1 upside, and the floor is just so much higher. So, if you've been listening to the show, I'm in on Tyler Higbee as well. And if there's two pieces in this offense I really want, it's Robert Woods and Tyler Higbee, and I think everybody else I'm out on.
We keep fading Cooper Kupp. We had that fade segment. I saw we got some.
We don't hate him though.
We don't hate him, and it's funny. In our consensus rankings, we actually have Cooper Kupp as the 14 and Robert Woods as the wide receiver 15. So we're not totally fading Cooper Kupp. It's just scary when all these other options are there. I might as well get a running back and then grab Cortland Sutton in the next round, or grab a Terry McLaurin or Calvin Ridley in the next round. And it's like you said, like the fantasy footballers, they have Robert Woods as the wide receiver 12. I've seen a couple other analysts have him in that range, and we have him at wide receiver 15. So it looks like he's a consensus pick here at Robert Woods. It's everybody's one name that they have circled here in 2020.